Hello, this is your very own President and First Lady, joining you for our new weekly Fireside Chats.
Hello, my fellow Americans. This is your President Roosevelt.
And your First Lady Eleanor.
Coming to you live from our Fireside Chats.
For our first Fireside Chat, we wanted to present something very special to us and recap the beloved 1920s.
We will begin our recap with an overview of the 20s foreign affairs. Our country spent most of the 20s avoiding and even trying to lessen the possibility of outbreak of war. One of the most important foreign policies was the idea of disarmament, which is the reduction or withdrawal of military forces and weapons. Our gorgeous country focused on isolationism rather than increasing our connections with the rest of the world, seen through my fellow Democrat Wilson's choice not to join the League of Nations.
Adding on to stopping war, our country carefully crafted the Kellogg-Briand Peace Pact in an attempt to end all war, which worked for us until sadly 2 years ago in 1931, when Japan invaded Manchuria, China. There were some troubles, as you know, the prohibition, which is the banning of alcohol. However, we listened to all the backlash and riots and made sure to get rid of any banning of the beloved drinks. As you know, Frank and I love to sit down with a nice drink after a long day of decisions and talk about our family, just as we all know you will do listening to our Fireside Chats. The 20s also brought some of my favorite inventions, including the car, which Franklin and I love to go riding around in. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, that my husband kindly gave us, the percentage of inflation dropped by 30% from January 1920 to January 1922, meaning that not only Franklin and I, but the common man could buy all the goods, from cars, to jewelry, to decorations for all the glamorous parties, to clothing, to vacuums, to the new electric fridges, and of course the radio you are hearing us through in your own home. With all these excellent new advancements, you could even call it the Roaring 20s. Hey, that has a nice ring to it. I might coin that. The Roaring 20s.
Let's talk presidents. The 1920s saw many presidents, including Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover, or more importantly, 3 Republicans. Harding, while in office, gave us the Teapot Dome scandal, a bribery scandal involving the very own President of the United States at the time. Us Democrats would never.
Oh no.
This scandal was the leasing of Navy petroleum at Teapot Dome in Wyoming. Coolidge, on the other hand, was more widely liked and was lucky enough to receive the honor of serving 2 presidencies, in which he was able to sign into law the Indian Citizen Act of 1924, which granted U.S. citizenship to Native Americans. He also oversaw a period of rapid economic growth, the Roaring 20s, as my wife likes to coin it, and finally Hoover. He closed off the 1920s presidencies, being sworn into office on March 4th of 1929, and later going on to lead relief programs.
The Mummy. Is it dead or alive? Human or inhuman? You'll know. You'll see. You'll feel the awful, creeping, crawling terror that stands your hair on end and brings a scream to your lips. There's nothing on earth like the Mummy.
All right, Franklin, let's not get too carried away with ourselves. But I would like to touch on the infamous Teapot Dome scandal. We all know Harding, the Republican. During the Teapot Dome scandal in 1927, the Supreme Court ruled that the oil leases had been corruptly obtained.
Corruptly, alright.
Harding leased 2 Navy petroleum reserves to private oil companies at low rates without competitive bidding. Sounds like a monopoly to me. Fall was the first former cabinet officer to go to prison. I haven't seen anything like that during a Democratic president.
No, you haven't, my dear. With the Prohibition came the increased need for rebellion. And through this, jazz music became the perfect outlet for the party nature of this era. Along with jazz music came jazz dance, which allowed for a scandalous party vibe as well. 2 of the most famous musicians of the time include Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. Duke Ellington was a jazz musician known for his radio broadcasts from the Cotton Club, and he was known for his impact on the party culture of the 20s. He helped to vocalize the Harlem Renaissance through his music. Louis Armstrong was an American trumpeter and vocalist known for his jazz music during the 20s. He brought huge impact on the Harlem Renaissance as well. He left a legacy for himself in his fans and in his music. The 20s is often remarked as the golden age for jazz.
Another golden moment for the golden age was the passing of the 19th Amendment, which sought the woman's right to vote. And I just say they did a magnificent job. Can I even put a pin in all the wonderful accomplishments the 20s brought, from thought-provoking books like The Great Gatsby by a good friend of ours, F. Scott Fitzgerald, to wonderful music by the man we're listening to right now, Cozy Cole, or as we know him, William Randolph, to great fashion choices, which I know my husband would love to touch on.
The flapper trend was a frivolous fashion trend, and oh, how scandalous. Many women took a more boyish approach to fashion, and I have to say, I'm glad my wife over here did not. Step-in corsets were worn to flatten out chests. Skirts rose to knee length. My personal favorite actress, Clara Bow, was the embodiment of the flapper bow, both on and off screen.
Frankly!
Oh. This was a time where fashion spread beyond just the upper class and was more involved throughout America. Women often cut their hair short with the introduction of a bob to imitate a more masculine look. Speaking of masculine, men's fashion, unlike what I'm wearing, is consistent of slick back hair, raccoon coats, and leather shoes, bow ties, and the fade for the look. Well-tailored suits were favored by the upper class. The most famous African-American hairstyle from this time came from the Harlem Renaissance, which is the conch hairstyle created by a hairstylist.
Franklin and I have seen a wonderful fashion as we travel with the new aviation, O'Neill and the newspaper in the sky. We've loved moving you all campaigning all over the states. But of course, our favorite is New York. Hyde Park to be exact. We're beautiful. Would you ask me to show you?
We love seeing all the competitions and athleticism, especially from the Olympics.
Even if it must be from our own home. With the TV, another wonderful advancement. A box in your room that shows you all you need to see. Could 1920s have been anywhere? Actually, it could. With the radios in your homes, but you'll get to hear us on our new Fireside chats weekly. The radio is the most wonderful invention that ever graced us in the United States. The time to together with your family and listen to all the wonderful new ideas and new policies, like the New Deal, just made this year by my marvelous husband. Another thing that you all been taking a liking to is exploring foreign ways of different countries. I myself have taken a particular liking to the ways of Egypt. go watch a new movie on our television. Or The Mummy. I heard it's a wonderful thriller.
Yes, I agree. The wife and I have to go. See you next time on our Fireside Chats.